3:58 in the morning. The only sound is gravel crunching under boots. Elias holds a flickering lantern against the suffocating pre-dawn mist, and his breath hangs in the cold air like a question mark he is too afraid to ask. We have been told that 4 in the morning is the hour of champions. It is the secret window where the elite outwork the world to claim their fortune. Wake up before everyone else. Hustle harder. Grind longer. Win bigger. That is the gospel of productivity. That is the promise that keeps you setting alarms that hurt to hear. But as Elias holds his lantern up to a giant spectral hourglass on the path ahead, he does not see sand. He sees falling human figures. His own friends, his health, his sanity. All of them being ground into dust, one exhausting day at a time. Productivity is not a ladder. For most people, it is a high-speed treadmill designed to keep you exhausted, so you never stop to ask where you are actually going. And the terrifying part? You volunteered for it. You begged for it. You set the alarm yourself. We are going to deconstruct the myth of the grind through Elias's walk into the woods. And by the end, you will understand why your obsession with doing is the very thing preventing you from becoming. Elias used to wake up at 3:30 in the morning, not because he loved it, not because it felt natural, but because he was terrified of falling behind. He lived by the zero-inbox philosophy. He swore by deep work sprints. He treated his brain like a CPU that never needed to cool down, never needed rest, never needed space to just exist without output. He felt superior to those still sleeping. He felt like a warrior while everyone else was soft and lazy. But his eyes were bloodshot. His creativity was bone dry. And every morning he woke up more tired than he went to bed. You see, Elias was not actually getting closer to his goals. He was simply getting better at being busy. And there is a massive difference. He had fallen into the trap of what psychologists call productivity dysmorphia. It works like this. You start to measure your worth by the length of your to-do list rather than the depth of your impact. You confuse motion with progress. You mistake exhaustion for excellence, which means Elias was engaged in performative labor. He needed to feel productive to justify his existence. Every task completed was not about results. It was about proving to himself and to the invisible audience in his head that he was worthy, that he was not lazy, that he deserved to take up space in the world. But the Zen masters have a term for what Elias was experiencing. They call it agitated mind. It is the opposite of mushin, which translates to no mind. Mushin is the state of mental clarity where action flows without force, where creativity happens without strain, where you are fully present instead of constantly performing. Elias thought the 4 in the morning silence was for working. He thought it was time to be seized, conquered, maximized. But the master he meets on the path, an old man walking in the opposite direction with no lantern and no urgency, says something that stops him cold. The silence is not a vacuum to be filled. It is a mirror to be faced. Elias does not understand. So the master continues. You wake early to outrun yourself, but you cannot outrun what lives inside you. You think you are getting ahead of the competition, but the only thing you are ahead of is your own collapse. This matters because we use the early morning to outrun our inner emptiness. We think we are getting ahead of the competition. We think we are building empires. But the reality is that we are just the first ones to arrive at the graveyard of burnout. The expectation of success through sheer volume is the lie that keeps the hourglass turning. The lie that keeps those tiny human figures falling, one after another, into the abyss of exhaustion. If you want to keep receiving these rare perspectives to help you navigate the burnout of modern hustle culture and reclaim your time, you should join our community here. Because what comes next will completely change how you see your mornings, your work, and your life. Elias finally reaches the climax of his walk when he touches the glass of the giant hourglass. The surface is cold, impossibly smooth, and the moment his hand makes contact, he sees them clearly. The falling figures inside are not strangers. They are versions of himself. The Elias who played guitar on Sunday afternoons. The Elias who visited his parents without checking his phone every 5 minutes. The Elias who simply breathed without a deadline looming over his chest like a boulder. All of them falling. All of them ground into dust by the weight of his own ambition. The master stands beside him, silent, waiting for the realization to settle in. I worked so hard, Elias whispers. I sacrificed everything. That has to mean something, right? The master shakes his head. A man can spend 10 hours digging a hole and filling it back up. He is exhausted at the end of the day. But he has produced nothing. This is the gut punch of the entire script. This is the psychological trap that keeps you running on empty. It is called the sunk cost fallacy of effort. We believe that because we worked hard, the result must be valuable. We believe that suffering equals progress. We believe that exhaustion is proof of commitment, but it is not. You see, the 4 a.m. walk proves something devastating. Productivity is often just a socially acceptable form of avoidance behavior. We work so hard so that we do not have to face the terrifying reality that we might be headed in the wrong direction entirely. Which means all those early mornings, all those skipped meals, all those canceled plans with people you love, they were not investments. They were distractions. You were not building a future. You were running from the present. You were not grinding towards success. You were grinding yourself into nothing. You are not killing it. It is killing you. The reality of the hourglass is that time is the only non-renewable resource. And using it to optimize a life you do not even enjoy is the ultimate financial and spiritual failure. You can rebuild your bank account. You can restart your career. But you cannot get back the versions of yourself that you let fall through the glass. That realization is powerful. But if you do not couple it with this next truth, the magic is lost. The master points to a nearby stream cutting through the forest. The water is calm, steady, deliberate. It does not hustle at 4 a.m. It does not grind. It does not set alarms or track metrics or optimize its flow rate. And yet, over time, it carves through solid rock. This is Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. The Taoist principle that the most effective force in nature is not the one that fights the hardest, but the one that aligns with the natural current of reality. There is a difference between a frantic swimmer splashing against the current burning energy going nowhere, and a master navigator who reads the wind, adjusts the sail and moves with 10 times the speed using a fraction of the effort. Productivity is not about doing more. It is about removing the friction of the ego grind so that your natural talents can flow. It is about working with your energy instead of against it. It is about recognizing that most of your effort is wasted because it is driven by fear, comparison, and the need to prove something to people who are not even watching. Elias looks at the stream and then back at the hourglass. The figures are still falling, but now he understands. The hourglass does not stop. The grind does not end. Unless you step off the path entirely. As the sun finally begins to peek over the horizon, Elias feels something shift inside him. He does not need to work more. He needs to care more about fewer things. He does not need another productivity system. He needs to stop optimizing a life he does not actually want. This is the shift from quantity of input to quality of intent. The truth is that the most productive people are often the ones who appear to be doing the least, because they only move when the move matters. They do not fill their calendar with noise. They do not confuse business with importance. They guard their energy like it is sacred, because it is. They wake up at 4 a.m. not to grind, but to think. Not to hustle, but to breathe. Not to prove anything, but to reconnect with the part of themselves that got buried under the weight of expectations. Elias blows out his lantern. The flame flickers once and dies. And in that moment, he realizes something profound. He did not find a new productivity hack on his walk. He did not discover a secret morning routine that would finally unlock his potential. He found the exit to the hamster wheel. Reality just beat the expectation. The most productive thing he ever did was stop working. Because productivity was never the goal. Freedom was. Clarity was. Peace was. And none of those things are found at the bottom of a to-do list. None of those things are unlocked by waking up earlier than everyone else. None of those things come from grinding yourself into dust so that one day, maybe, if you are lucky, you can finally rest. You do not earn rest. You do not earn peace. You do not earn the right to exist without producing. Those things are your birthright. And the moment you realize that, the hourglass stops mattering. The falling figures stop haunting you. And the path forward becomes clear, not because you worked harder, but because you finally stopped running. As a final gift to help you build a life based on true wisdom rather than frantic noise, subscribe to join us for our next deep dive into the things they do not teach you in the boardroom. Because the world will keep selling you the lie that more effort equals more success. And you need to be the one who sees through it before it grinds you into nothing.